You may have heard their golden song, but you absolutely don't know the tragedy behind this rock genius admired by fans all over the world in the last few decades of his life. But he desperately escaped his loudest name, like avoiding the god of plague. What secret is hidden behind this, tracing back to early 1946 Cambridge Academic City? UKA boy named Roger Syd Barrett was born. His childhood was carefree and carefree. My father is a respected expert. His mother always encouraged him to imagine. In this warm and loving family, he absorbs the nutrients of art like a sponge. Before touching the guitar, he has actually played piano and various instruments in different places. Writing poetry and drawing are also easy to achieve adolescence. He has a nickname called Zai, G. Who would have thought of this casual nickname? Surprisingly, this became the stage name for his future success in the music industry, but in the last few days of life. But he voluntarily gave up. This name I returned to the ordinary Roger's side. This may be his silent resistance to fate. I want to rediscover my true self. Suppressed by fame and unable to breathe in his journey of growth, the emergence of a few people completely changed the history of rock music. When I was in elementary school, he met his classmate Roger Waters later. During my studies at the Art Academy, he met guitarist David Gilmour again. These few people gathered together. The core of the future legend band has quietly gathered together. However, the turning point of fate suddenly occurred in 1961. He was only 15 years old that year. His father unfortunately passed away due to illness. This has brought a devastating blow to his family. This also became the biggest watershed in his life. The once lively and cheerful Sunshine Boy disappeared immediately. Instead, a boy became increasingly quiet and reserved. He was heartbroken and began locking himself in his room. Devote oneself wholeheartedly to painting and playing guitar. He started practicing guitar crazily. The art of kin also began to develop at an astonishing speed. But at that time, he didn't know I am about to push open the door to legend and abyss, and the secret weapon he brought into this legendary gate. Surprisingly, it's just an ordinary windproof lighter. Fast forward to the early 1960s. Little Roger picked up his luggage and arrived in the metropolis of London. Enter the Art Academy for further studies. At that time, London was in a crazy and interesting golden age. The flames of various avant-garde music are quietly spreading underground. In this city full of change, Roger quickly played with a group of art students. They spend their days together, staying up late chatting, trying to find a completely new voice that only exists in the mind not long after. Roger moved into an apartment. Roger Waters and Nick Mason happened to be my roommates, in fact. They had already played in the band before this keyboardist Richard Wright. This future world-renowned band has actually taken shape. But it wasn't until Roger officially joined and became the creative core, the whole machine has truly found its soul. He brings a continuous stream of creative inspiration to the band. And there were guitar playing techniques unheard of in London. At the time, his performance is very free and abstract, filled with piercing noise and strange sound effects. But under these chaotic noises, it always hides extremely beautiful melodies. If this is the comment quickly, you have heard such a sound. Do you think this is noise or art? Please leave your comment quickly in the comment-ly in later. Roger had a flash of inspiration, put the names of two old blues singers together. So the legendary name Pink Floyd was born 1966 and 1967. They started to make a name for themselves in underground clubs in London. It only took a few months. They have become the hottest focus of the entire city of London. Roger's aura on stage is simply mesmerizing. He stood in the center of the stage. He exudes a charming and dangerous magic all over his body. His way of playing guitar is completely non-traditional. Regularly take out a lighter to wipe the strings, create an unprecedented psychedelic sound that could get out of control. The audience in the audience is not just listening to music. They are more like witnessing and burn freely on stage, watching a crazy soul burn freely. The situation here is starting to get worse. At the same time, their reputation is also flourishing. Fate arranged the most exciting encounter for them. That was the spring of 1967. Pink Floyd finally secured a record contract. They excitedly walked into the Abbey Road recording studio. It's in another room, in the same building. Two great souls recorded their greatest album during their peak period. Two great souls representing the pinnacle of music create simultaneously. On several walls, Paul McCartney even went to their recording studio. Specifically, I quietly listened to their recording for a while in this great debut album. Roger took on most of the creative work alone. It fouled and imagined that this album is the ultimate fantasy fairy tale, like fairyland. They imagine it sing, incredible blues. Roger found imprinted with Roger's unique personal mark when other rock's inspiration from a children's book. Even before the official release of the album, their single directly entered the top 10 of the chart. One reason is that the theme of the lyrics is too non-traditional. As a result, it was directly blocked by several radio stations. But this band actually drives young people crazy to chase after them. Pink Floyd turned half of the sky red overnight, becoming the most anticipated superband in the UK promote. This new song they went to participate in the most popular TV program can be completed during the recording process. Roger was about to aim the camera at him at the last moment, suddenly put on old and dirty clothes and walked onto the stage. At that time, everyone thought it was just the artist's independent and unique style. But looking back, now this is actually the first warning signal that his spiritual world is starting to collapse. What's worse, this genius's downfall is faster than anyone could have imagined. Topple the first domino. It was illegal drugs that completely caused him to lose control. In fact, it began in the mid-1960s. He was trapped in the quagmire of hallucinogens, unable to extricate himself. Others can return to reality. After playing enough, he completely sacrificed his soul. At the end of the year, the side effects of the medication began to manifest on him. His gaze became increasingly hollow. Just like the soul flew away, leaving only an empty shell, he began to forget the names of his old friends on stage. He often remains motionless like a sculpture. I hold a guitar in my arms, but I haven't played a single string sometimes. He even intentionally twists guitar strings into pieces. After making a piercing sound, he stood there foolishly once. David Gilmour was overjoyed and wanted to say hello to him, but he stared straight at Gilmour's face. There is no warmth in the eyes. Just like looking at a stranger, this caused a wave of despair to surge in Gilmour's heart. The subsequent trip to the United States was a complete disaster. He refused to cooperate with lip-syncing on TV programs, just awkwardly standing in front of the microphone. Letting the accompaniment play throughout the interview, he remained silent, pretending to be both deaf and mute. Travel can only be forced to pause. Everyone can only fly back to England dejectedly. He endured immense pressure that ordinary people cannot imagine. Just a few months, he started as an ordinary boy who loved music, regarded as a spiritual leader representing an entire generation. This explosive impact directly destroyed his spirit. During this period, he created a heartbreaking song. Do you know this name during rehearsals? As long as teammates have just figured out the melody, he will immediately change the chords and arrangement. Everyone tried to adapt to him again, but once again, let go of the score and started over. He just looked at his panicked teammates like this. Have you learned to sing that sentence over and over again? If it were you, you would think this is a genius artistic provocation. When his brain completely lost control, he desperately called for help. This song eventually disappeared forever, not even entering the recording studio. In order to continue the performance, the band had to invite David Gilmour in name. This is to help him, in fact. This is just to erase the butt of this soul that could break at any moment. Gilmour played and supported the music with all his might on stage. He wandered around the stage like a ghost, watching everything coldly until an afternoon in January 1968. Roger Waters drove everyone to the performance. The wheels are speeding on the road. I don't know who suggested taking him there, but in the end, everyone chose to remain silent and give up. They abandoned him forever like this. Years later, when the drummer recalled this past, he candidly admitted, "Our handling method at that time was too bad, but in that era, no one knows how terrifying this mental torment is." What date is he today? Completely lost in the psychedelic world constructed by oneself. No one can be certain this lost world. He began to search for a way out alone. But who would have thought push someone who can't even tune guitar strings to the recording studio, even relying on the deception of former teammates to record songs? This is the final disappeared. Another ruthless exploitation of commercial capital. He was abandoned by the band, as completely disappeared from everyone's sight. When he reappeared, the only idea in my mind is to record my own solo album. At that time, he lived in a rundown apartment in London. That place is full of wandering artists. All day long, the room was filled with a decadent and casual atmosphere. His girlfriend is also one of them, even appeared on the back cover of his album. In those chaotic days, he started the difficult recording work. Surprisingly, he once abandoned his old teammates, Gilmour and Waters. At this moment, he took the initiative to stand up again, help him become a producer, even play guitar accompaniment for him. In the chaotic explorations of the past 2 years, he released 2 solo albums simultaneously. It is difficult, but the music in these 2 albums, it is difficult to simply define as pleasant or unpleasant. The never played that once brilliant genius seems to have returned. But usually, the entire album sounds scattered. The rhythm is always Scraggin. This chaotic and charming style was absolutely unique at the time. Some people believe that this is a masterpiece left by a genius in confusion. Some people also feel that he has completely lost his creativity. The entire recording process was like a disaster. My teammates are anxiously scratching their heads in the control room. Helad. The same song twice is definitely a completely different version. He sometimes appears unusually clear-headed at the moment when certain melody different of an eye. In the blink, I returned to a self-world that I couldn't communicate with, although this album is not very popular. But this incomplete roughness actually brings an indescribable sadness. In the early 1970s, he formed a new band in his hometown and performed briefly. These are also the last few public appearances in his life. 2 years later, he attempted to walk into the recording studio again. But in the end, this recording did not leave anything useful behind. His music era came to a complete end like this. But at that time, he didn't know my next reunion with my old teammate. It will appear in a very strange way that extremely bizarre reunion. The incident occurred on an unexpected afternoon. Can you imagine when you tearfully record a song for a missing friend in the recording studio? That good brother who disappeared for 7 years, suddenly, he stood behind you in a terrifying way that no one could recognize. This is definitely not a fictional supernatural story, but this is the most spine-chilling and heartbreaking scene in the history of rock music, going back to the summer of 1975. At that time, pop singer Pink Floyd was very busy in the recording studio. They are polishing this album that later became a classic for future generations. The entire album is actually filled with endless longing and sadness for him, especially the songs written for him. Every word and sentence is a hymn written for him. Simply put, the entire record is about a living teammate giving to an ex-friend who is still alive but has long lost their soul. A grand public commemorative event was held. On this day, the door to the recording studio was suddenly pushed open. A fat man wearing a raincoat and holding a plastic bag walked in unsteadily. This person is not only bald, even my eyebrows were shaved off. Everyone present looked at each other in confusion, but no one recognized who he was. This strange person is wandering aimlessly in the recording device. Finally, he even swaggered into the control room. Listen to the just recorded sample with everyone. The first thing to note is drummer Nick Mason. He always has an indescribable familiarity with this chubby guy. At this moment, Gilmour bent down and whispered to Mason, "Do you know this person?" Mason stared at the stranger for a long time and could only shake his head helplessly until a few minutes later, a cruel fact struck everyone present like a bolt from the blue. This unrecognizable fat guy is actually Syd Barrett. He was actually only 29 years old that year, but due to medication and mental torture, his body completely gained weight and deformed. My teammates used to spend 3 years together, creating music day and night without stopping. Only 1 meter away from him, I didn't recognize who he was. Looking at this once handsome and dashing genius in front of me. Now he has become a useless person. Roger Waters had a breakdown of emotions and burst into tears on the spot. Gilmour later recalled that this scene had a huge impact and trauma on his soul. But West Germany seems to be an innocent person. I was brushing my teeth in the bathroom of the recording studio, as if there was no one around. When the band plays a song specially written for him, Syd just told Waters coldly that this song doesn't sound very good. Later that day, he appeared at Gilmour's wedding. Then he quietly slipped away without even saying hello. Since that day, members of Pink Floyd have never seen him again, although many years later, Waters accidentally met him at a supermarket, but the two just brushed past each other without saying a word. This visit to the recording studio is their last collaboration. Subsequently, West Germany completely bid farewell to the hustle and bustle of London. He returned to his hometown and moved into his mother's houses. Time goes on. He voluntarily lost his world-renowned West German stage name. I have returned to Roger Barrett's normal state. He started painting, tending to the garden, and riding a bicycle in the city like an ordinary citizen. This is more like a redemption for oneself, because the name West Germany carries too many hollow halos and reputations. It was these things that ultimately destroyed him. It's obviously much easier for Roger to come back. Since then, he has never touched music again, whether in public or private settings. He maintains a complete distance from music. He briefly kept a guitar, but soon threw it away. On the contrary, it is painting. He creates huge abstract paintings with great regularity and concentration every day. It's interesting that every time I finished drawing a picture, he would not hesitate to take a photo with a camera and then burn the painting. He doesn't need to keep these works. No one knows if this is the realization of art for a hermit who is not interested in fame and fortune. This is still a strange quirk in his spare time. He goes to the botanical garden to see flowers, or take a train alone to London's art gallery to appreciate art in the eyes of neighbors and acquaintances. During this period, Roger lived a strange but very peaceful life, but he carefully crafted a small and enclosed haven for himself later. My mother passed away. He inherited this house alone and continued to live. His sister, who lived nearby, became his only bridge of contact with the outside world. My sister helped him buy daily necessities, help him block all outsiders who want to contact him. More importantly, this helps him block the endless interference of fanatic fans and paparazzi. Roger's attitude towards the glorious past remains consistent. This means I'm not interested at all. He doesn't even understand why, after so many years, there are still people who can't forget him. But the real world did not easily let him go. There are always curious fans, trying their best to find his residence in these encounter records. Roger always appears polite but also distant. He always answers questions with a few sentences, and never takes the initiative to say an extra sentence. My face was filled with the desire to escape immediately once. He watched a documentary about himself on TV after watching for a while. He complained about the loud noise and walked back to the bedroom without looking back. But fortunately, Gilmour has been silently monitoring the life of this old friend. He ensures that all copyright income of the band is transferred. Quit the band a long time ago, but solely based on the astonishing sales of these classic albums. The copyright fee brought to him is enough for him to spend the rest of his life carefree in his hometown. This is the goodwill of a friend. This is the goodwill of a friend. This is also a black humor full of irony. The band he once gave up on has now become so huge that the fragments can sustain this reclusive creator for a lifetime. As Roger grew older, his physical condition began to decline. He has diabetes and stomach problems. July 2006. Roger Barrett calmly closed his eyes in his hometown. At the age of 60, cancer took his life in order to protect his final privacy. The news of his death was only announced to the public a few days later. This is for a man who spent 30 years avoiding the spotlight. This can be considered a dignified ending. David Gilmour subsequently issued a brief but priceless statement. He said that his career in West Germany was painful and brief, but he has influenced many more people than he knows himself. In fact, the works left by West Germany to the world are pitifully few if we only look at quantity. This cannot even compare to the output of ordinary musicians. In a few years, he was only active in the music industry for 10 years. The actual time for creative output is even less than 5 years. But his artistic genes are deeply imprinted in the bones of countless musicians in later generations. Many great singers imitate his lyrical style. Countless young people grew up listening to his songs. They are trying to find soulful resonance in this genius's absurd music, losing his band. In the process of creating these pinnacle works, in fact, the shadow of West Germany has always lingered deep in the soul, my teammate once admitted. The fall of West Germany was the core source of inspiration for his creations. The irrational fear and sadness run through the band's greatest works. This emotion of guilt and sadness intertwined is the legacy left by West Germany to everyone. He has never truly left their music, but he never truly returned to the world that loved him. If this story touches your heartstrings, please leave your feelings in the comments section. like, and follow us. There are more exciting, legendary stories waiting for you here.